So good morning, good morning. My name is Bonnie Sachs, and this is my happy half hour. I am still adjusting here. There you go. I am the award-winning author of The Health and Happiness Guide to the Universal Laws, and I am so excited to be here this morning. It is always fun to see what is going to show up and what I'm going to talk about. Good morning, Robin, and good morning, Tracy. It is great to see you all. It's actually even great to see myself because I haven't necessarily always had a picture of myself on the screen. And not that I need to see myself in order to have a conversation, but that I feel like, yes, it's going well, it's going right. So good morning, good morning. It was a great weekend, Father's Day weekend. So happy Father's Day again to anybody who shows up in that father capacity, that dad role in whatever it is. It's great to have all of you around. Good morning, Catherine, and good morning, David. It is great to see you. And then we had Aaron and Andrea show up. It's awesome, awesome, awesome. Great to see you all. So I love that this morning we are going to be talking about separation. I certainly don't love the idea of separation, but I love the clarity of having this information. You know, if you know me at all, you know I really do love it when I know more about what I'm talking about than I'm just getting on and having a conversation. And separation has been showing up all over the freaking place for me. So I guess it's really no surprise that that we are talking about it this morning. Good morning, Angel. It's great to see you. So how does it show up for me? So the first way it showed up for me this past week is that my daughter was in town, and you all know that, may know that my daughter announced her engagement. She is engaged to her fiance, Katie. Obviously, they are, well, I guess not obviously, but they are both girls. And so she was here visiting, and it was so much fun. We got to go to different venues. You know, she's going to get married here in Florida. And so we're very excited about her getting married down here because she lives in Maryland and she could get married there. But good morning, Alyssa. It's great to see you. She is going to get married down here. And so we went to some venues, and you know, it was just interesting to me to watch where separation shows up in looking at wedding venues. First of all, I do understand that my daughter is not in the norm for relationships, so it is not normal for, you know, that's not even the right word. It is not, what's the word? Where is Sarah when I need her? You know, it is not something, two women getting married is not God, I'm blanking on the word. Okay, who wants to pop up that word for me? Yeah, it's not coming. It'll come. Must be some reason why it's not showing up. So we went and looked at venues, and there were places, and this is not about that the places need to show up differently. This is just how an opportunity shows up to see where separation exists. So we went and looked at a place that was almost brand new, just built, and the bride's room was beautifully decorated, absolutely gorgeous, and not done in like flowers and things like that, just really well done with dressing tables, and it was a really big space. And then the groom's room was decorated with leather chairs and game systems, and it was much smaller. And so it was just an opportunity for me to see, like, wow, where we kind of buy into the stereotypes of what guys and girls look like. Girls look like this, and they need to have these facilities. You know, maybe there are some girls who would love to have a game system in their suite while they're waiting to get married. It's just how it shows up, right? And then there were the places where we went and looked at golf club facilities where they would be held in a locker room, right? The locker room was going to be the bridal suite where they would wait, and they would have to do something different because obviously there's not two women's locker rooms. But when they talked about the locker rooms, they talked about the women's locker room is beautiful with white wood and gorgeous, and the men's locker room had a full bar. And so it was not a judgment, but a noticing of how often we buy into those stereotypes about what men and women look like. So it's just an opportunity to see some separation, right? Good morning, Lisa and Jill and Gretchen. It is great to see you. We're just talking about separation, and separation is something that it obviously separates us. That's why I was rolling my eyes. It separates us. It puts dividers down. Our brains want to organize things. That's how we're taught, right? We're taught that you put all of the orange, sticks together, and all the red sticks together, and all the blue sticks together. We're taught that, boys and girls are different, and that shows up in so many different ways. And so I have just been seeing a ton of the separation over the last week. And we are under a full moon. The full moon just happened about, 5 hours ago or so, if I can do math, happened at 4:30 this morning, Eastern Standard Time. And one of the things that the full moon is bringing is more clearing of judgment, right? And more worthiness is what is coming in. And so judgment is one of those things that most definitely shows up when we are talking about separation. So it perfectly fits into the whole new moon aspect of the conversation, but it's an opportunity for us to see, where do we separate things? Where do we put up barriers for, you're over there and I'm over there? How does that show up for us? Another way that it showed up for me this week was I sat down on Friday and I was flipping through Facebook, and I love to just scroll through my news feed and see the questions that people ask. I'm a member of a lot of spiritual groups of all different kinds. There are some that are very scientific in nature and some that are very woo-woo in nature, right? And it is interesting to see the questions that roll up. And on this particular day, I was seeing a ton of questions about God and about, how God shows up in other religions, and how we are, is God real in other religions? Is God, the same God? And people just constantly wanted to separate. Like, if you didn't believe in this particular practice or doing religion in this particular way, then you weren't really connected with God. And I immediately received information about an article. So I often will have information that comes in, and I'll sit down and I'll type it in an article and then send it to my awesome social media person, Erin, and she will post it up. And this particular one, when I wrote it, I was a little nervous about it. I'll just tell you, I was a little nervous, like, am I saying the right words? Am I making the right connections? Am I offending somebody? Because, religion has a way of really triggering people. Just in case you haven't noticed, it really does have a way of triggering people. Good morning, Elaine. It's great to see you. We're talking about separation. And so I had this piece that I wrote about religion, but it was more a reminder for all of us that we are actually all connecting to the same source creator God. Now, I use the term source creator God to sort of encompass everybody's beliefs. And sometimes when we say God, We're not necessarily specifying which God we're talking about. Source, creator, God is the words I use. Good morning, Stacy, and good morning, Chelsea. It's great to see you too. And so the idea is that source, creator, God sits up here, and all of the different religions sit underneath. And it is just another way to have an experience, right? Remember that our souls are in charge of our bodies, that our souls have the big picture, and also that our souls sat down with our council of souls and said, in this lifetime, we are going to have this experience. In this lifetime, we are going to show up as a guru. We're going to show up as a priest or a minister or a nun or an imam. There's so many different ways that our souls will want to show up and have an experience with religion. Our souls can actually even show up like, we're not going to be interested in religion in any aspect of it, or we're going to be interested in religion from the aspect of an anti-religion, right? All of those aspects all still fall under the same heading. It's still our souls having an experience. And in this lifetime, at this time on the planet, we love to put people in boxes and put them in boxes according to their religions. But it is still all falls under the same heading. It's still source, creator, God. We still are all coming from the same source. We all are created from rose pink quartz. There is no difference between us. And it was really interesting to see that article that I wrote on Friday and was in some fear about turning it over and maybe posting it on Facebook would show up today as part of the separation, as part of the way that we separate ourselves from each other. Oh, you don't celebrate that, you celebrate this, right? Whatever religion we are talking about. And it was fascinating for me when the article comes out, you can actually take a look, because I Googled the major religions of the world, because I had no idea. And there are a few religions that I was not familiar with at all, which just always fascinates me, because that says that I have my own bias, right? That I have my own pictures about what major religions look like. And I wish I could remember all of them. One of them that stands out for me is Taoism, that showed up, and who would have guessed that would be one of the 12 major religions. Totally cool, totally fine. But it is an opportunity for me to see where I create separation, where I'm still separating things like, who knew that was a possibility? So just so you know, this idea of separation does not show up in just these particular ways. I'm sure you all can consider politics, right? Or our stand on any political event, or our stand on any political topic. Like if we wanted to talk about the environment, or we wanted to talk about strip mining, or we wanted to talk about the oceans, right? There are always ways where we're constantly being separated. And what we want to be aware of is, there is actually another point of view out there. There is another way that we can look at this that isn't just like mine. And that's okay. We all came in with these experiences and these opportunities for us to move more judgment, to move more fear, to have more clarity around these conversations. And this absolutely happens in the spiritual world. I love this particular aspect of it, because somehow there's this point of view that if you're spiritual, you don't have any separation, you don't have any issues. Good morning, Regina. It's great to see you. Look, oh, my hair. Does my hair look good, Regina? She's my hairdresser, so I always want to make sure I have my hair looking good. Just kidding. Anyway, good morning, Regina. It's great to see you. Um, this absolutely separation, absolutely happens in the spiritual world. It happens, to people who are busy oming, and to people who are chanting in various ways and using herbs and doing yoga and having all sorts of experiences. Oh, Regina, you're so sweet. Having all sorts of experiences in the spiritual realm, right? It is. Hi, Sarah. I love when my daughter can show up and say, "Hi, Ma." Um, People in the spiritual world do separation really well as well. There is the separation that happens for people in knowing their soul name, right? It has become such a big thing in the class that I teach for people to know their soul name. And it reminds me of the children's story. I believe it's Rumpelstiltskin, where she's trying to guess what his name is, and it is a long list of, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Nope, it's not any of those. Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? And that, I know my soul name and you don't, is a way that we create separation, right? We also create separation in the spiritual world with how fast we are going up in frequency. And there's this competition energy, which I've had a few people talk about, this competition, like, oh, I've got to get it done faster. I've got to be the first one across. Or the flip side of it, which is, oh, I just can't do it like everybody else. I know I'm going to be last. I know I'm going to be behind. I'm going to quit. All of those versions that show up as well. Now, the ones that are talking about how they're not going to make it, they're not going to be able to do it, those are the ones that are showing up as the unworthy, right? I don't think I can do this. And that's one of the frequencies that is coming in with this full moon, to clear more unworthiness. There's a lot of opportunity for us to have more self-worth, more of the feeling that, yes, I am totally loved and supported and totally cared for. And it's absolutely freaking cool. So there are lots of opportunities for us to see where we are creating separation, even in this world, even how we show up and what we experience. Now, another aspect of this is the clear channels, right? Our divine channels of communication. And when I first sat down and looked at what I was going to be talking about this morning, that's what I thought I was going to be talking about. I was going to be talking about the divine channels of communication. The really cool thing to know is that we all have them. Absolutely every single one of us on the planet has divine channels of communication. It doesn't matter whether you are in the deep jungle, or you live on a remote island, or you live in the middle of the big city. Every single one of us here on the planet has divine channels of communication. So let me explain what I mean by that. I am talking about your clairvoyant channels. That's probably the one most people know about, because your clairvoyant channels is your ability to see psychically. We all have clairvoyant channels, every single one of us on the planet. We all have clairsentient channels. That's another one that people love to talk about. And they talk about clairsentient channels, our ability to feel. People talk about them being an empath. Well, I am an empath. I am so empathic. When they are talking about being an empath or being empathic, they are talking about their clairsentient channels. Everybody's got them. Everybody has clairsentient channels. We're also talking about our clairaudient channels, which is our ability to hear psychically, to listen, right? To connect with our soul, to connect with our healing team, to connect with other beings on the planet. Clairaudient channels, like being able to hear, right? We've all got clairaudient channels. And in fact, I know I've talked about this before. We can actually have an entire conversation with either our soul, our healing team, or the beings that are in our space. And we do it all the time, and we just think we're talking to ourselves, right? Our clairaudient channel is something that all of us have. And then we have our claircognizant channels. Our claircognizant channels are our ability to know. And the claircognizant channels are the ones that are most desirable because they are the least able to be messed with by low frequencies. But our claircognizant channels are our ability to know. Like, I often joke that I just know shit. And it's literally like I didn't know it one moment, the information comes in, and then I do know it. And it is just something that is that simple. It's claircognizance, the ability to know. And all four of these channels are channels that everybody on the planet has. So then the question becomes, if everybody has them, how come everybody isn't seeing or knowing or hearing or feeling with clarity? I love that question because it comes back to the low frequencies that are here on the planet. Good morning, Eva. I just scrolled my screen up and was able to see these, the low frequencies on the planet. I'm talking about them all the time, the low frequencies of pain and fear and anger. And a big one that's been showing up for me lately is unconsciousness. Those low frequencies have blocked our ability to connect with our own information. I see this often where people are busy talking about how they want to open up their third eye, how they want to be able to see more. Or there are people who can see, but they don't know what they're seeing. So they look at something and they see it, as, well, they can see it in a lot of different ways. They see it as a pain blockage, but they don't know what to do with it. And all of this is creating separation, right? If you are a member of any group on Facebook that does spiritual stuff, you will see how it's like the competition energy, those who can see, those who can't, those who know what's going on, those who don't know what's going on. And I find myself falling into this as well, right? I fall into this category because I sometimes get a little, come on, really? Is that what you think that is? That's not what that is, kind of thing. And that just creates separation. That creates more judgment. So good morning, Dana. It's great to see you. There is lots of separation that happens in all sorts of groups and all sorts of places. And we are definitely no exception. We have it happening in every group, in every way, right? So the separation creates fear. And one of the things I find so interesting when I say fear, I have several people who are like, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Stop saying that I'm afraid. I'm not afraid. And when I say fear, I mean anything associated with fear, right? There's lots of things. Fear of not being enough, fear of not having what you need, a lack, right? Lack is a fear. If you have issues with abundance, there is fear that shows up with people. I've had several people this week say, I went to the mall and I know I picked up something while I was at the mall. Or I turned on my TV and I know I was blasted with something. Or, I went outside and talked to my neighbor and I know they did something to me. those are all different kinds of fear. And fear is probably the biggest separator of all of us, right? Fear of not looking like somebody else, like maybe it's a hair color, or maybe it's a certain body type, or maybe it is not having the right job or driving the right car or any number of those things, right? That is that fear that shows up, and fear just separates. So I know we're doing huge healings today on anyone who has some, they just said it like separation anxiety. That does not mean that you have a anxiety around being separated. It's just a separation, like, oh my gosh, I have separation issues. We are doing healings on all of that because we want an opportunity to move more of the fear that you are not doing it right, more of the fear that there is something else going on, that you are missing out, that somehow you didn't get it done fast enough, or you didn't get it done well enough, and that somehow you're being left behind. And so all of that stuff is being moved at whatever level your soul wants to move it at. Of course, we take direction from our souls, not from our personalities. There's another separator. Good morning, George. It's great to see you. And there's lots of opportunities for us to do more healing around this, right? More places where we can go, oh, that's okay. It's all right that I don't look like them, or I don't talk like them, I don't have an accent, or I can't speak a language, or I haven't traveled there, or I date people who are different, or I like to play these kinds of games or these types of sports. All of those things are divinely perfect exactly as they are. And what we are doing is moving those things out that keep you from remembering that you're doing it in the right time, that you're doing it exactly as you're supposed to, that if you are listening to your soul, you're doing it right. If you are listening to the low frequencies, you're doing it right. That is a teaching. I had a big opportunity this weekend to see where I was listening to my low frequencies. I was listening to my fear. And my first reaction was, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I should know better. And then I just laughed. Really? Who said you should know better? Who said you don't have more to learn about this? Who said that there isn't some other experience that you're supposed to have? And then I took a deep breath and just said, all right, let's go for it. Let's move forward on this. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to remember, let's have a little more grace. And let's actually bring in some more grace and a little more ease with all of this. And we're going to bring in more ease with all of the things that are happening in our lives, right? The places where we're not sure we're doing it right. We're not sure we are handling it like we're supposed to. We're not sure if we're moving up in frequency fast enough, and we're not sure if, we're teaching our kids correctly, or we're going to the right job, or there is something more for us. I just want to keep saying it's all divinely perfect. It's all great. And when you see that separation, when you see that place where you are showing up like, I didn't realize I had that judgment, but I am going to move more of that. It is so much easier for us to just, Angel, it is. I try to be really lighthearted about it. Let's be really easy with ourselves. Let's know that we can have more joy. We can have more awareness. We can have more trust in what we're doing. It is all perfect exactly as it shows up. And if you need help, you can always text me. You can always send me a message through Facebook. all of you who join me here have access to me at any time. Send me a message and say, help, I'm not sure how to get out of this. I am certainly happy to help in any way I can. And I look forward to seeing you all really soon, next Monday on Facebook or somewhere around town. Love you guys.